I left school at 16.
It sounds like you got bullied.
Like they'd put my videos on like the big screen in the hall and like laugh at me whilst I was at lunch. Not many people really supported what I did at all. I so easily could have been like, no, that's it, I'm not going to do YouTube anymore. But like, thank God I didn't.
1.35 million subscribers on YouTube, 1.5 million on TikTok, 1 million on Instagram, and she's literally working with some of the biggest brands in the world. Is it right that you basically recently had a panic attack?
Just had this heavy feeling in my chest and I couldn't breathe properly, and I was like, this is so strange. So automatically I was like, oh, I'm ill. And I had the feeling for like 3 days. To me, the lows have actually made the highs better. I met them on Hinge.
Hinge? Sorry, I can't ask it. So when you turn up to a date or with some randomer on Hinge, they would be thinking, what is going on? What would you say to someone now who wants to get into the game, like for the first time, like to a young creator?
1,000,000% do it. Don't get me wrong, the industry is so saturated now, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy, because it wasn't easy for me either. But if it's something that you really want to do, you've got to do it.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Learning As I Go, sponsored by British Triathlon. Today, I am a little bit of a fanboy because today's guest is literally top of her game. She's one of the biggest YouTubers in the industry right now, and I cannot wait to catch up with her. But before I do, I want to say thank you to you for always supporting and listening to this podcast. It really does mean a lot. And big shout out to anybody who's taken on this race with me with British Triathlon in July in Sunderland. We're going to do it together and it's going to be special. But today's guest has over 1.35 million subscribers on YouTube, 1.5 million on TikTok, 1 million on Instagram, and she's literally working with some of the biggest brands in the world. But today I want to peek behind the curtain of what it's like to be an OG influencer, top of the game in the YouTube world, because there are so many different layers to this guest. And today I'm going to be introducing Anastasia Kingsnorth. Sit back, relax, and get ready to learn another life lesson with Learning As I Go. How are you, my darling?
I'm good.
You all right? Welcome to the studio. We have got influencer royalty in the building, guys.
Hi everyone.
In a minute.
Woo! Yes! Wow, I'm a little bit starstruck for this episode because honestly, like, it sounds daft, but in my social PR office, you are like royalty, and you are literally,
Really?
yeah, you're like influencer royalty.
God,
Obviously,
thank
you've
you.
got like, is it 1.35 million subscribers on YouTube?
Yeah.
1 million on Instagram, 1.5 on TikTok. And you are literally like top of the game, right?
Oh my God,
so
thank
I just want to
you.
say a massive thank you and introduction to Anastasia Kingsnorth.
Thank you. Hi everyone.
What an absolute incredible name, by the way.
Oh, stop it. Thank you. Boosting my ego here,
No,
Scott.
it is though. It sounds very official, right?
Thank you.
But thank you so much for coming on here. I've got so many questions because you are the OG of kind of, would you say the influence world, or what would you describe yourself as?
I think, yeah, YouTuber.
YouTuber.
But like the new word, I guess, is like influencer
Yeah, but
that everyone uses.
The reason why I say it is because obviously you're on different platforms now as well.
Yeah.
So
I guess, but yeah, YouTube was like the OG,
yeah,
OG platform.
So you started YouTube at the age of 14, is that right?
Well, officially at 14, but I've been doing it since I was 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
A really, really long time.
And I'm trying to take myself back, right? Because people say, like, if you started YouTube when it first started, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of when it, that was the time to get in, right?
Yeah.
But were you at the start of that, or was it like, I was listening to one of your podcasts recently, and you said it was like, remember like, is it Zoella and everyone else?
Yeah,
Way
it was
before you?
like, yeah, so like the Brit crew was first with
Right.
like Zoe, Alfie, Joe Casper, and they were all like the OG YouTubers who like I looked up to. I was like, I want to be like you guys. And then I was the generation just slightly like after that. So we were like the new wave of people that came in. So kind of still an OG in like the whole like YouTube world, because it's been going on for so long now. But yeah, I come just
It's
after
mad
them.
because like even now, there's people trying to get onto YouTube now, and some people say, oh, it's too late to get on there, and because you kind of need to have put the time in to kind of
Yeah.
build up that natural audience. But at the age of 11, even back then, well, especially back then,
Yeah.
it must have been kind of a little bit out there to create yourself a career on YouTube. Did it become a little bit of a struggle for you to kind of in school and everything else?
It was like, it felt virtually impossible when I was doing it. I genuinely had no idea that I would be sat here now doing this at 22. I thought I would have gone to uni. I thought I would have done it, you know, the way that you're meant to do it. And yeah, it felt impossible back then, but I just stuck at it. Like, I knew that it was what I wanted to do. There was just something about creating videos and that whole creativity side of life that I loved, that I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do with my life.
But that's crazy as well, because back then people
Yeah.
wouldn't have really looked at it as a career.
It wasn't like even brand deals weren't a thing back then.
So why were you doing it then? You just did it for the love of it?
I just loved it. Like I watched like Zoe and Alfie and all of them like make videos, and I was like, that just seems so much fun. And then I just started doing it, but I didn't do like what I did now. I used to like open toys when I was like 11.
What do you mean? Wait. For the context of my listeners, because some of my listeners will not even understand the YouTube world. So you were doing videos just opening up toys?
Yeah. Like behind like toy YouTube is like a big thing, and way bigger now than it was back then. But like I used to open, I don't know if you've heard of it, called like Moshi Monsters.
Right, yeah.
But they were like the OG toy back in the day. So I used to just open toys. Like I wouldn't really show my face. I'd just film it on like my laptop webcam or whatever and just upload it. And I did that for like 3 years. And then everyone at school found out that I was doing that. And I was so close to being like, I can't do this anymore. Because naturally, when you're like 14, 15 years old and you find out at school that you've been opening toys, everyone's starts bullying you, all that stuff.
Oh my God.
And then I just switched my content up and I was like, no, I want to stick at this. And then
wow. So when you were doing it, so you weren't thinking of it as a career, you just did it from a place of love and passion. But then at the same time, is those OGs, the Brit, what do you call them?
like the Brit Crew. That's
Brit
what
Crew.
they were called, yeah.
Like I do remember like there was news articles about how much money these guys were making and everything else.
Yeah.
Was that back then or was that later down the line? Like, but they were almost like rare cases, right?
Yeah, I think it was very rare cases. Like like back then, there genuinely was only about 10 YouTubers that I could name, and money. Like I earned, I think, in the first 3 years of doing YouTube, like £60.
Wow.
Like it just was not a thing to like. Brands didn't know what it was, so yeah, money wasn't even an option really for it back then.
So I'm just trying to get my head around this like young girl that you were throwing yourself into this at the risk of basically being bullied in school and everything else. What about creating content did you love?
I think I just loved the creativity of the fact that I could do whatever I wanted. Like when I was at school, I was such a quiet kid. Like I would not put my hand up. I didn't want to speak to anyone. But then when I was on YouTube, I think even though you're speaking to like so many people, realistically, you're only in a room with yourself and a camera. So it felt almost really easy. So I think I liked that part of it, that like I found a voice for myself online.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, because I've been watching a lot of your stuff and it's basically you are talking to yourself in a room for literally hours on end sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And that's a skill in itself. But like you said, it sounds like that was your way to express yourself. You know, some people say like music is their form of expression, poetry, whatever else. It sounds like creating content was your platform, right?
Yeah, 100%. Just being able to make a video, or I don't know what I was doing back in the day, even just eating like at McDonald's and chatting shit. That is literally what I used to love to do. And people just, I guess, found something in my content that they liked or they enjoyed watching. And I just got really lucky.
And that's what I love about you, Anastasia, because out of everybody I've met in this industry, like, and you are obviously like top of the game, but you come to all our events and stuff. Obviously, we went to Spotify, the event in Ibiza, which we won't talk too much about because that was a bit crazy. But like, you're just so normal and just humble and lovely to be around. And I think that's obviously why people buy into you as well, because they can see that shines through. And let's get it right, some of these Instagram girls, everything else that you see, like, they are Instagram girls. I'm trying to describe that in a way that's not too offensive, but it's kind of, sometimes it's like, it all seems kind of like surface level, superficial. Yeah. Whereas with you, it's like, you just seem real. And I think that's what people buy into.
I feel like that's the beauty of YouTube though, because like, obviously I do Instagram as well, but when people go on YouTube, they can sit and watch you for you and watch you just be yourself. Like, you know, just put the camera up in the bathroom whilst I'm putting a face mask on and just talk. And it feels like you know that person, which I think is why I've been able to do so well in the industry, because I have just been so open and completely myself on YouTube.
And it's funny you say that, because you obviously started doing this just because you love doing it, and obviously now it's created a massive career for you, and you've got like your own exclusive podcast with Spotify now. You do massive brand deals, do red carpets, everything else. But it's funny how this came from a place of passion, and through doing something you love, it's turned out to be a career. And for me, that's where the success comes from. If you're doing something you love, that will kind of naturally unfold, because sometimes we end up doing stuff that we think just because we're good at it, we should do it when we don't actually love it.
100%.
And it seems like that's what you did, and especially at a time where it must have been so difficult, because I can imagine when I was in school, if someone said to me they were creating videos and they were on YouTube, I'd be like, in the nicest way possible, I'd be like what are they doing?
100%, because it wasn't like a thing back then for like everybody to do. Like nowadays, everybody kind of does want to get into this industry, and like if you start doing YouTube, everyone's like, yeah, do it, like you should do TikTok, blah blah blah. But back then everyone was like, what are you doing, like why are you doing that? And I left school at 16 because I kind of just knew that I wanted to do the job anyway, and the education system wasn't really for me, but also because of how people reacted to me doing it, I just physically didn't want to be around that anymore. Like they'd put my videos on like the big screen in the hall and like laugh at me whilst I was at lunch and like all this sort of stuff, and I so easily could have been like, no, that's it, I'm not going to do YouTube anymore.
Wow.
But like thank God I didn't have
of
that
course.
reaction.
Talk me through it though. What were the kind of like the biggest lows for you then in those moments? Like, is there anything that kind of really stands out to you, like in terms of like it sounds like you got bullied? Like
yeah, pretty much did get bullied at school. I had a very small friendship group at school, and not many people really supported what I did at all. It's funny now because they're the people who now want to speak to you now that I've done well. But yeah, I definitely had a lot of low moments at school where I didn't want to go to school. I just wanted to sit in the house and make a YouTube video. That is literally what I wanted to do. But I just, school wasn't great for me, which is a lot of the reason why I left at 16.
I love that though. I love that story of like basically just sticking to what you care about, no matter what other people say, because you can have doubters in anything that you do. And it's so
100%.
important. It is difficult sometimes to back yourself because sometimes you think you're crazy and people make
Yeah.
you feel like you're crazy, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you've gone on to prove everyone wrong, that's just inspired me just there.
Thank you.
So you left school at 16.
Yeah.
When did this become a career for you then? Like, when did you start to, like kind of monetizing it?
So when I left school, I remember I had 250,000 subscribers. So
That's a lot.
I was doing really well, but like even the money side of it, it still wasn't like a huge thing. So I was taking a risk. Like, is this going to work? Am I going to earn like a living from this? But it was almost as though like the minute I left school, that is when it took off for me, because I could put all of my effort into it, I could put all my time into it, and that was when I realized, and that was when, you know, I already had a management, but I really could work with them to build myself a career and work with brands. And it was when I was like 16, 17.
Oh, that's interesting, because sometimes I ask myself, am I spinning too many plates and being a jack of all trades and master of none? And for me, like the best influencers are the ones who literally are just full time and focus like massively on that. And even sometimes the best business owners can be the ones that just focus on one business and get that really right. So do you believe that focusing on one thing is kind of is the key to success? Or
I think so. I think it's hard in our industry to like put all your time into one thing, because our job is essentially our life. And it's like, where do you find that split between, okay, I'm going to put all into this, but I don't want to show some of this? Or like, when do you take a day off? Or like, I sometimes feel guilty if I take a day off. Like, that is a real thing in this industry, and some people don't get that, because you film every day, and then if you don't film, you're like, oh gosh, I've let everyone down today. Like, it's really, it can be really hard.
I said this to you, didn't I? At the Real Greek restaurant launch. Because I went over to you now, because I'm struggling with it all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm like addicted to my phone, and I always think, right, I want to have some time off my phone today.
Yeah.
And I don't want to post anything on social media. I want to do something just for me. But then I go somewhere, I go, oh, this is great content. This is a great content opportunity. Or if I'm feeling a certain type of way, this will inspire someone today. I should share this. And I don't seem to be able to find that boundary. And I said to you, do you ever have like those boundaries in terms of like your own personal life and your social life? And you just went straight, categorically looked at me and went, nope. I went, what do you mean? You just went, that's the price you have to pay if you want to be top of the game in this. And I was like, wow, but you kind of, is it worth it though for you?
For me, it is.
Right.
Because I now live a life that like I thought was going to be pretty much impossible for me to live. So it's like, if I can sacrifice just that little bit of like, I guess, privacy, it to me is so worth it. It's something so simple now that I've learned that like, if I'm in the moment and I want to film something, I'll just film it below and I'll just look at it in real life. I won't look at what I'm filming. I'll just make sure the camera's recording, but I'm still like there, I'm still present, and I'm still enjoying it. It's like, even little things, like every holiday I go on, I always like, when you go on holiday, that's normally your time to not work.
Yeah.
But for me, that's like
Content.
my time. I'm like, that's content. That's like what I've never been on a holiday where I haven't done content, but I love it, because to me, it doesn't feel like work. Like, that is just, it's my hobby.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky in that sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can imagine. It is funny though, like you said, like you feel guilty for having that time to yourself. Do you struggle sometimes? Because this is something I struggle with. Defining who you are behind closed doors as you, and like who is the like not the real Anastasia, but like, for example, with me, there's Scott Thomas and there's Scott personal brand. And I actually think they're kind of the same person right now. Someone said to me the other day, they said to me like, what do you love doing? What's your hobbies? Like, what do you do just for you? And I was like, everything that I do pretty much always ends up on Instagram because like, even if, like I said, if I'm listening to a podcast, I listen to one that's going to be, give me some kind of value, or it's going to be feel productive. Every hour of every day for me has to be productive towards building what I'm doing. Yeah. So is there anything that you do that kind of like no one else sees? And do you have clear boundaries between you? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm basically saying like, is there an Anastasia that not everybody gets to see and it's just for you? Or is everything kind of blurred?
I think it's been like a mixture of both. There's been like times where everything has blurred because I think, like I said, you feel some sort of pressure to constantly show everything. And in some ways you can lose yourself like along the way of this job, especially for doing it. You know, I've been doing it for 11 years now. You know, there's going to be times where I've completely lost myself. But I think as I've gotten older, I've realized like I keep all like my relationships, like with boyfriend stuff, very private. I never show any like of that sort of things. I think that's something that I just prefer to keep private. And I know that's my private life. And then my friends as well. Like, even though we post a lot together because all my friends are in the industry, we will just sit there for hours on end and talk and chat shit and won't film it. And that's like my privacy. So I definitely have got better at it. But when I was younger, like 4 or 5 years ago, everything was blurred. Like, it was impossible.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like, you ask yourself, do I actually really like this song, or is it just because it's trending now and I need to vibe to it? Or, and do you know what I mean? You can get wrapped up in it. But I think I'm a little bit like you. The one thing I don't really talk about on social media is like my relationships. First of all, because they're pretty non-existent. And second of all, I just wouldn't anyway. I don't know why. That's just my private thing. And that is probably one part of my life that I keep to myself. And then I think one of the biggest vices for me, obviously, was my relationship to alcohol and being like the crazy Scott that I was. And even you saw a bit of a glimpse of it on like the Spotify trip last year. Like, that's why I've gone back sober now, because nothing necessarily bad happened, but I woke up the next day and I was like, I'm not really sure what happened. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I hate that anxiety feeling. But even the fact that I put that out to the universe and I've talked about that, it's almost released that kind of, that was a private part of my life. And the fact that I've kind of put it out there to do, it's almost like therapy for me. Do you feel like sometimes putting stuff out there is therapy for you?
100%. I feel like a lot of me putting everything out there is some form of therapy, but I think that's the beauty as well of our job. Like, if I am struggling, and sometimes I feel like you feel like you're in a very vulnerable position when you're struggling, but I try and look at it as like, if I show this could help someone. Because when I'm sad, a lot of the time, I don't want to pick up the camera. Like, if I want to cry, I want to cry on my own, and that's it. But sometimes being vulnerable and being open actually helps in so many ways. And I've really enjoyed doing that now. And there definitely was a time where I didn't do that enough. And I feel like that's when I lost myself, when I would pretend that I was super happy and then go home and probably cry the whole night because I wasn't happy. But being open with your audience and being like, you know what, I'm sad today. I don't feel happy today. That is helped
100%.
massively.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't know why this morning I woke up and I felt a little bit flat. Like, I don't know why, just one of those days. And people, I think, sometimes expect me always to be like high energy and bringing energy to the room. So when I do have those days, I like to talk about them a little bit. But someone said on one of my other series of the podcast, Steph Ellswood actually, she said, sometimes you've got to be careful of that because it's almost emotional broadcasting. Because you basically, when you're going through it at the time, you actually, I don't know, it's almost like you're looking for, not attention, but it's kind of, you're not being vulnerable. It's not actually being vulnerable because it's not for you. Going speaking to a friend and one-on-one talking about it.
I kind of know what you mean. I feel like there's a fine line between like sharing too much or just letting people know that like you're not okay. Like, when I share that much, I wouldn't give the exact reasons. I wouldn't be like, this has happened in my life today. This is why I'm upset. I'm just very much like, I'm not okay today. And that is okay. So like, if you don't feel okay, that's fine. That's the sort of like message I try and give across.
Yeah, I'm just trying to take myself back. Well, not myself back, but going back to when you were obviously in school and stuff. And it sounds like you were kind of, did you say you were quite a shy girl in school?
Oh yeah, so shy. I literally wouldn't speak to anyone.
And it's just funny how basically how you managed to kind of channel, but then you've got such a big personality on your videos and stuff. Like, it's just interesting to see how you kind of express yourself in a different way. But do you also think, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, do you feel, because sometimes I feel like this,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm connected more to millions of people through my platforms and whatever else
Yeah.
than I am actually to my friends and family sometimes.
I've definitely felt like that before.
Yeah.
100. That was how I felt when I was at school. Like all the people that were around me, I felt like I couldn't be myself around. But then in front of people I don't know, which is strange to say, I felt more myself than ever. And I felt like as I've gotten older and I've met people through the industry, like that is where I've found myself. And now I've got a group of friends where I'm like completely and utterly myself, and that feels amazing. But 100%, I felt so much more comfortable in front of a camera speaking to strangers who I knew nothing about than I did in front of my friends at school.
Oh, so that's the point I was trying to make. So it's almost like I can walk into a room, honestly, on stage with like 10,000 people in it, and I'd probably be more comfortable than you putting me into a situation one-on-one on a date with a girl. Like, I hate that kind of, that feeling of intimacy. It almost makes me feel a little bit like uncomfortable.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean exactly.
And this is the problem I'm just trying to ask with you now. Like, it seems to me that people of this generation now, are they losing that real connection because of social media and TikTok and everything else? Like, because you coming in now today and and every time I meet you, you seem really like confident in your own skin and like a short, like, I don't know if that's something you built up over time, but I worry that a lot of these people, young kids especially now, are more kind of active on social media, that when you walk into a room, they actually don't know how to connect with people in real life. Do you think that's a problem or not?
I think that is a massive problem, especially since TikTok has come about. I think when it was just YouTube, probably not as much, but now social media is our life. Like, and I'm not saying it's a complete bad thing, because it's not, because I think if you know how to use it and use it in the right way, then it's fine. But I think 100% nowadays, everyone has TikTok. I mean, like 8-9-year-old kids have TikTok, and I never had that growing up. I had it in a way on YouTube, but it was so different to what it is now. And I think it's definitely an issue for
yeah, because I've been saying for a long time that I'm comfortable on my own. I love my own company, and then when I'm at home sometimes I'll put my phone away in a cupboard and go, I'm not going to check my phone for a couple of hours. And after a little bit of time, I start to feel lonely in the house, and I realise you're never actually alone. When you've got social media, you can do one story and you're interacting with about 5 million different people.
Yeah.
And I just think sometimes having a phone and being connected to social media kind of has held me back from developing real relationships sometimes with like even my friends, my family. And I just wondered if that's something that you've kind of managed to get a grip of.
I think I've definitely managed to get a grip of it now, but I would at one point definitely feel way more comfortable sat on my phone on my own than going out and speaking to real people. And it is still something that I struggle with. Like, put me in a room of complete strangers. Some days I'll be completely fine and I can hold a conversation with every single one of them. And some days I will just stand there and be like, I can't do this. And it is purely because I would rather be sat there on my phone speaking to people over the internet.
It's crazy. And anxiety seems to be a big like kind of buzzword now that everybody seems to be struggling with. And I know that you mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
Talk me through that, because is it right that you basically recently had a panic attack?
Yeah, and it was the first one that I'd ever had. So I had no idea what was going on. I just went straight to A&E because I was like, something's wrong with me. Like, I don't know what's going on. And after a couple of hours, they were like, no, you're having a panic attack.
So what was what's the feeling of a panic attack like?
I didn't even feel like panicky, but I just had this heavy feeling in my chest and I couldn't breathe properly. And I was like, this is so strange. So automatically I was like, oh, I'm ill. Something's happened. But no, they said to me, like, you're just having a panic attack. And I had the feeling for like 3 days. It just would not shift. It was just a heavy feeling in my chest. And I still don't even really know like what caused it, to be honest. I'm going to assume it's probably something to do with my job or something that happened in my life that subconsciously I was anxious about, that kind of just triggered a panic attack. But yeah, it was scary, especially when you've never had one before and you don't know what.
So it just came out of nowhere. Like. There was not like a particular situation that brought it on?
Not really that I can like pinpoint. I was stressed with my job. Like I think, but that's because this job is stressful in a lot of ways. So I guess it probably was that without me actually knowing it was that. But it was strange. I think it's something that.
And how did you overcome it? Like, did it just kind of fade away, or?
I honestly, I don't even know. Like, it's I think I talked myself out of it. Like, that's what I do a lot of the time. I sit in my head and I I'm very into like positive thinking. So I'll be like, I'm okay, I'm fine. And I'll speak it into existence. So I was constantly just saying to myself, I'm fine, I'm okay, and just get on with my day. Because I'm the type of person, if I feel sad and I lay in bed, I know that's not good for me. I know that I have to get up and I have to carry on and tell myself that I'm fine, then I actually will be fine. So I think that's exactly what I did. I just didn't give in to the feeling. I was like, no, I'm not having this, I'm going to fight it.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I'm asking you these questions, because with you, it seems like you've got a really good distance and awareness around your relationship to social media and stuff, whereas some people actually don't even realize that they're kind of driven by it, or they're kind of addicted to social media and stuff, whereas it sounds like you've been through the kind of whole process and you've got a little bit of a distance on it that you can be objective.
Yes.
And that's kind of why I'm asking you these questions, because I'm just really interested, because sometimes I know that it's an issue for me. I think that's step one, like acknowledging it. But it's so difficult because it's given me a massive platform. It's helped me build my businesses, create communities.
But that's where the guilt comes in, because you feel like
you could be doing more.
You feel more like, all these people have given me this, so like I feel like I need to 24/7 give back to those people.
Oh no, so yours is different though, because you literally document your whole life, don't you?
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
So it's almost like they're relying on your, like, I give glimpses.
Yeah.
Whereas with you, you actually, like, you give pretty much like a day-to-day thing, and it's almost like these people who are so engaged with you, because these like, when you've got YouTube subscribers, they're so like diehard, aren't they?
Yeah, YouTube like followers are like, they know everything. They actually follow your life,
and they live their life pretty much through your eyes sometimes.
Yeah.
So there's a level of like guilt and stuff. So when you talked about being stressed before, like some people look at you as an influencer or YouTuber and say, "What are you stressed about? Like, you've never done a full day's graft in your life." And do you know what I mean? People will have that perception,
of course.
but they won't understand. There's a lot of work that goes into this.
Yeah.
So talk me through this. Like, what does a stressful day look like to you?
I think stress in my job is obviously very different to stress in, like you said, that sort of a different type of job. I think it's a lot of like mental stress. A lot of the time, like, people don't see the amount of hate that influencers and YouTubers can get, and that can really knock your confidence. It can make you think, am I meant to do this job? Am I, should I like carry on doing this job? And it's, in hindsight, it's actually not that stressful, but when you're in that moment, it feels like it's the end of the world.
It is a tough industry, and I don't really relate to it on a day-to-day basis, because I like to think that I'm kind of well-liked, so to speak, but literally I'll go through Instagram and I'll have so many nice comments. I always go looking for the bad comment. Do you ever do that?
I went through a really bad stage. I think when you're in that mindset, that's what you do. Like, sometimes you'll post things, or I'll take a photo and I'm like, if I post that, someone's probably going to say that, or someone's probably going to say this, and probably just won't post it. So now I like forward think. I'm like, I know how people are going to react to everything. I know what people are going to say, because I've had every hate comment under the sun. So I just overthink now what I post. It's crazy. The whole hate side of it is crazy.
It's mad, especially for that young girl as well, because girls can be so bitchy.
So
like, girls are worse, right?
Girls are so much worse. It's just, I just don't understand. Like, you could post a picture and someone will rip apart your appearance or your outfit, and I'm like, why? Like, I physically don't understand, because I would never comment on someone's picture like, you look ugly today, or I don't like this top, because I don't have that in me. I would just never do that. So when people do that and they hide behind all these usernames like user137 whatever, I'm like, would you come and say that to me in real life though? Probably not. So just don't say it online.
Yeah, it's frightening. But like, talk to me about like the level of work that goes into getting to your kind of level in the game now, like in terms of like a day-to-day basis. Do you have to be posting every single day? Is it kind of just an ongoing process? And also, do you have to put serious amount of years into it? I listened to one of your podcasts when people don't realize the amount of time that you put into something, and people think it's kind of like an overnight success. So like try and give, for any like young YouTubers out there who want to give this a serious go, like what kind of sacrifices will they have to make?
I think realistically, YouTube is probably the hardest platform to post on, just because creating an engaging video that is going to be, probably minimum 10 minutes long is actually really hard. And there's so many things to think about, but I never used to think about these things when I first started. I would just film myself for 15 minutes and upload it. Whereas now, the industry and the business is so saturated and there's so many people, you have to think about every single video you upload and think, okay, will people watch past this like 3-minute mark? Is this part interesting enough? But for me, like, I mean, a normal working day, it's just constantly thinking about YouTube. Like that is my number one platform. I love YouTube more than anything, but that's probably just because I just like putting the camera down and just chatting shit.
Yeah.
That is what I love doing. But it's stressful a full day of making YouTube videos. I make 2 a week, and I've made 2 a week every year for the past however many years.
So we've talked about some of the low points, but let's talk about some of the high points. Like, what have been some of the pinch me moments for you over the years? Like, because you have done some incredible things.
Yeah.
Like, even sometimes, even obviously, we booked you guys to come on the Spotify trip, and I was looking at you guys going, "Wow, this is like the best job in the world," because it was just like literally all flew over to Ibiza.
Yeah.
And basically, you essentially got paid to party for the day, right?
Yeah, literally.
With a massive brand like Spotify as well, which is amazing. But like, talk to me like about some of the other defining moments for you, like where you just go, wow, how am I even doing this?
I think, to be honest, the whole like past 5 years of my life, it's been like, how am I actually doing this? But the one like moment for me last year was when I was on the Victoria Warehouse billboard in Manchester.
I saw that.
That was like, because I remember when I moved to Manchester, I drove past it with my mum on the first day I moved in. I said, "Mum, I would love to be on that billboard." And I honestly said it, never thinking that I would be. And then I remember when I was on that billboard, I just went and sat on my own in the car for like half an hour at night, and I just stared at it, because I was like, I could not believe that was actually like me on that screen. I think last year, like being on all the billboards, that was very much like a pinch me moment. Like, how have I managed to do this?
And I've seen you've done like red carpets as well with Disney and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, I went to the Kardashian premiere last year with Disney.
What?
That was another pinch
LA?
me moment, actually, in LA. Yeah.
Wow.
That just didn't feel real whatsoever. But a lot of the stuff I do doesn't really feel real. I don't think it will ever actually sink in that I'm like, this is me and I get to do this.
Yeah, and that shines through with you. Like, you seem so humble and just grateful for all the opportunities that come your way, and that's why you're a pleasure to work with. That's why we're always thinking about you, the social PR, because it's like when you come to an event and stuff, it's just, there's a lot of people in this industry who are entitled, and it's like kind of hard work for them to do anything for you, whereas with you, it's like you're really grateful to even be there. And I think you represent like just represent like the normal girl as well, in terms of like, you're just real. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think you're such an inspiration to everyone out there. You've inspired me as well, because staying true to something that you like genuinely love, despite all the like the naysayers and all the doubters out there, that takes courage and like bravery to do that. What would you say to someone now who wants to get into the game, like for the first time, like to a young creator?
1,000,000% do it.
Oh, really?
1,000,000%. I mean, don't get me wrong, the industry is so saturated now, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy, because it wasn't easy for me either. But if it's something that you really want to do, you've got to do it. Like, it is that when I tell you the best thing I've ever done, and of course, there's going to be low moments in every job. There always is. But for me, like, the good moments will always outweigh the bad moments. And I genuinely have created and lived a life that, like, I never thought I was going to get to live. So if you want to do it, you've just got to do it, and just ignore what everyone says. It doesn't matter. It's your life, not theirs.
Yeah. But in those moments, because like I was saying before, there's some times where you put so much effort and time into a post, and you post it and it gets no likes, no one's asked, and it can really affect like your mood for the day.
Yeah, 100%.
I try not to let it affect you. Does that affect you as well sometimes?
Yeah,
but
of course it does.
You need to just kind of detach the emotion from it, right? Is that what you try to do?
Yeah, I think there was definitely points where, you know, you get half the Instagram likes you're used to, and then the dramatic thought in your head goes like, well, that's it. My career's dead. I'm not doing this anymore. But realistically, you know, it's not the end of the world. It feels like the end of the world in our job, but it's not. I've always said, even if I don't get any views on YouTube at 40 years old, I'm still going to upload, because I love doing it.
If some like young person now is trying to get into this world, they're going to have to take the knocks. They're going to have to be patient.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like in those moments when you were probably doing this for years and not seeing any return, what kind of conversation did you have with yourself? Because I know, for example, in business and even with what I'm trying to do with the podcast and everything else, success doesn't happen overnight, and you have to be relentless. What like kind of advice would you give to someone who's taking those like knocks and doubting themselves sometimes?
You have to be, I know that it's hard, and when you have those knocks, you don't want to upload and you probably don't want to continue with it, but you have to be consistent with it, and you have to truly believe that it is going to pay off. And if you go in with it with that belief and you're truly putting your heart into it and you want to do it, it will pay off. And it's not going to be easy, because nothing good in life ever comes easy, but it genuinely will pay off as long as you put the work into it. And like, you know, I've put 11 years of work into it, and I'm still not where I want to hopefully be, but every step of the way is like, I think that's the best part. I think like the journey is like the best part of it. So like, to me, the lows have actually made the highs better. So it's just consistency. You just have to stick at it.
Yeah, I mean, we always say this, don't we? It's all about the journey, not the destination. And I try to tell myself that all the time. And it's like, even today, like, I woke up and I was a little bit overwhelmed. I'm filming a podcast, and then I got to go and see my business coach. And these were all things that I love to do. And I was like, Scott, just enjoy it. Like, but it's because the pressure that I put on myself. It's got to go like this. We've got to get it bang on. It's got. It's like, just do your best, and nothing but good things will follow from that. And I think
100%.
that's kind of what I'm trying to get to now, to a place where I'm just being more present in what I'm doing and just enjoying it. And it sounds like that's what you did, because like, literally, you just did it from a place of passion. But where do you see this whole social media industry going now? Because obviously TikTok's come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I feel like YouTube's had a resurgence. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I feel like it's come back around. Where do you see this kind of social media landscape going?
Honestly, I think social media will always be there. Obviously, the creators are going to come and go, but I think YouTube will always be there. I can't ever see that platform going. I think TikTok has made it a lot harder for YouTubers in general, because there's a whole new wave of people that have come in. But I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Hopefully not anyway. I think for as long as the creators want to upload, I think it's going to be here for the long run now.
And do you feel like, because of TikTok, all kind of content is becoming a lot more like short format? Do you feel like that's people's attention span now is like ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
If you don't get them in the first 3 seconds, you've lost them.
Especially on TikTok. Like, I was bad for it at one point. I fell out of, like, I loved creating YouTube videos, but I stopped watching YouTube to watch TikTok because it was easy. You can just scroll and every second you get a new video. But I actually think YouTube is coming back around now. And I think it's like, yes, our attention span is ridiculously short now, but YouTube, like, you could just put it on in the background. Like, whilst you're doing like your housework, you can just have a 40-minute YouTube video on. It's like the best thing. So I feel like YouTube actually, weirdly, it's making another comeback.
I'm reading a book at the minute called Stolen Focus, and it's just frightening how all these apps and platforms are literally designed to track us and to keep our attention. And when I'm sat here saying I'm addicted to my phone, it's no wonder. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously that's the whole point of it. So as some of you may have already heard, I am taking on a sprint triathlon in Sunderland on the 29th of July, and I want you to come with me. A sprint triathlon involves a 750 metre swim, a 20k bike ride, and a 5k run. And trust me, I've never been on a road bike in my life, and I've not swam in years. So I'm definitely a little bit nervous, so that's completely normal. But this is something that I want to take on, and I want you to come with me, because it's all about coming out your comfort zone. We will give you all the information and the training plan you need as soon as you signed up. So don't miss out on this. Get yourself signed up, try something new, and use my discount code LEARNING25 to get your discount off the race. And let's see this out together in Sunderland on the 29th of July. So I've got a question for you, because this is something I struggle with myself. When you are having a break from social media and doing content and everything else, what do you do to kind of fully switch off? Where's your like kind of happy place?
It's very strange.
Oh God.
We thought that too, but like, basically, so my dream job other than YouTube was to be a spy. I really wanted to work. I really wanted to work for MI5. I really wanted to work for the government. Obviously, I'm doing the furthest thing from that now, so that's never going to happen.
Wow.
But when I switch off, I would just watch like a spy documentary or a spy thing, and I learn like so much about that. Like, I won't go on my phone. I'll just sit and either read about it or look up about it or...
That's crazy.
Anything. That's like my...
That is crazy, but to be fair, I just answer this question myself. I love watching documentaries. I'm obsessed with documentaries.
Me too, and conspiracy theories. That's like my...
I love all that. And anything to do with history as well. I love like going back in time and looking how things started and stuff. So that is kind of one of my little hobbies as well.
I like learning stuff. Because in this job, we do learn stuff, but I feel like I don't exercise my brain like I used to in school.
Right.
So I feel like when I'm like having downtime, I want to learn something or...
Do you feel like when you say you are a content creator or a YouTuber, do you feel like you're perceived as unintelligent?
Yeah. I think people would just be like, oh, she's dumb. She's got no other talents, blah, blah, blah. But I actually love doing that. And in school, I did so well. I just didn't enjoy it that much, but I did really well. And I love learning new stuff. But 100% people look at like an Instagrammer and they're like,
but it actually takes like creativity. It takes an understanding of trends, what's going on. Like you have to treat it like a business. So you are essentially a businesswoman in your own right. And it's just interesting because, like you said, it's almost a lot of people who have to come and call themselves an influencer. They kind of cringe when they say it because of the perception. Is that something you're proud of now? How would you do if you walked into a room and someone said to you, so what do you do for a living? Or if someone on the street asked you, what would you say?
I would just say, oh, I do social media, or I have a podcast, or I'm a YouTuber. Try to steer away from the word influencer, not because it's necessarily bad, but some people's initial reaction is, oh, you're an influencer. But like, because I've been doing it so long, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more than an influencer now, but I just wouldn't say the word influencer.
So you obviously have, you talked before about having a friendship group who all seem to be in the same kind of industry and everything else. Does that mean all your friends are technically content creators and everything else? Or do you have some that are not that way inclined? Because for me, I find it difficult sometimes when I'm out with friends who don't really understand what I'm trying to achieve or the social media world, especially if you're seeing someone like, I've been in a situation where I'm seeing a girl before and I'll have to post, like, get some content of, like, I don't know, it sounds daft, but I'd be out having some food and I think this might make some good content. And you're at a table and you get a video of the food and they're looking at you like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? It's like, almost like, just please let me be. It's weird because I understand that you've got to be present and they want you to kind of be present, but do you find it difficult finding someone who understands, for example, in relationships? I know you don't talk about it often, but I've heard recently that you are seeing someone. Like, are they from the same world as well?
Completely different.
Ooh.
Completely different. I met them on Hinge.
Hinge? Is that a dating app?
Yeah, dating app.
Wow. So you're...
Yeah,
so wait a second.
Yeah.
So you've got all these millions of followers and everything else, and you're still on dating apps?
Yeah, I'd never spoken really to anybody in the industry. Like, everyone that I've dated has been completely out of the industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that must be... So when... Sorry, I've got to ask this. So when you turn up to a date or with some randomer on Hinge and they go, oh, so what do you do and everything else? Like, if they had to look at your social media platform and everything else, they would be thinking, what is going on? Like, how do you deal with that?
So I try to avoid showing them the social media for as long as I can, just because you never know what people's opinions are going to be or if that it's going to change their opinion or whatever. So, like, initially I'll just be like, oh yeah, I make YouTube videos. But, like, luckily, the last couple of people I dated, they had no idea. And the person I'm seeing now genuinely had no idea what YouTube even was, because he's from a completely different world and does a completely different thing. So that was actually really nice. But then I had to kind of explain to him, like, okay, so this is this world. And when you plunge someone into this world who has no idea what it is, it's so hard to explain. And it's like how you were saying, like, if I get my phone out and take a picture of this, or like, oh, I need to film this because this will be really good. It can be hard to explain because it's a whole different world. But it's kind of fun, though, teaching someone who doesn't know anything about it.
Do you find it difficult getting to that point with someone?
Yes, I found it pretty much like virtually impossible, like my whole life, to be able to get to that point with someone. I always found dating so hard, but I think I always kind of put it off because I was like, no, I want to do my job first. And I've always been like very career heavy, and that's come first. And my personal life has just kind of like just been put on hold a little bit. And then this year I was like, no, like I actually have to allow myself to enjoy that time with someone. And I feel like I've finally done that whilst keeping it very private.
So would it be a completely separate time? So when you're with this guy, would you be like, just no content, I'm just with you, and it's kind of separate?
In the beginning, sort of, because I feel like it kind of has to be that way so you can really get to know each other. But then now probably not as much. Like I will still sit in bed and edit a thumbnail or like edit something, just because I can't really switch off. So I feel like I kind of always am working, but not in the beginning. Definitely not in the beginning, which was nice.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
I'm just taking some tips here because it's something that I need to get a grip of.
What, dating life?
Oh, mate, I've got one of my mates who's an influencer, no word of a lie. On his second date, I saw him. I saw a picture of him on his Instagram, and I know that's where he went on his date. And I said to him, please do not tell me on your second date you were asking the girl to take a picture of you. And he said, yeah, of course. He said, I went, wow, that's like new levels. I mean,
yeah, that's like an extreme. I haven't done that. I didn't do that.
I just thought that's amazing. I mean, I could see myself going to that level, but that even shocked me. But listen, it sounds to me like you've got a really good kind of awareness around your relationship to social media and everything else, and you're passionate about it. But what's next for you over the next 5 years? What is the ultimate goal? You just said before that you're not completely satisfied with where you are. What is the big goal for you?
I think that I have so many like different goals, but I think the problem is in our job, like there's never really an end goal, because the end goal for me, what I thought was going to be was 1 million subscribers. And then when you get that, it's like, right, okay, now what can I work towards? Because there's always something more that you can work towards. But like my ultimate goal would be to be a presenter in TV. Like that's like the end goal. Definitely get into TV in some sort of way.
That's so interesting because I always find this. If an influencer has a big following on social media, they've smashed it and they want to be on TV. And if a TV star is on all different shows and on TV a lot, they want to have that social media presence.
100%. I found the exact same thing. Loads of people I've spoken to from TV has been like, no, we want to do social media. And I'm like, but I really want to do TV. It's like, yeah.
It's because they kind of feed into each other, don't they? It's almost like now you can't really get onto TV without having a social media presence.
Yeah, pretty much.
And if you are on TV, you want to stay on there, you need to make sure you're building a community and having a social media following as well. So they kind of go hand in hand. And what's it like for your mum? Because I've seen your mum and your family, they're all over your socials, your videos, they actually get involved.
It's my mum's job as well.
Oh, so wait a second.
My mum's a YouTuber.
Wait.
My mum's a YouTuber.
Oh, God, I completely missed this. So your mum's a YouTuber as well?
Yeah, my mum's a YouTuber.
Was she a YouTuber before you?
No, she's been she's been doing it for 2 years, I think, and it's her full-time job now.
Wow.
Yeah, she's like a mummy
I
vlogger.
can't believe this is amazing.
Yeah.
So did you teach her?
Yeah, I taught her how to do it because she was always in like all my videos, and at the start she was like, no, like I'm not going to create my own, like no one will watch me. And then people just loved her. People loved my mum. They found her so funny. And my little brother as well. She was like, I'll give it a go. I'll try. And she does all the classic like B&M hauls and like Tesco hauls, but people love it.
So your mum's a YouTuber as well. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And how many subscribers she got?
She's got like, I think she's got 70k, but on Instagram she's got nearly 200,000 followers. So that's I think that's her main platform, Instagram.
And who's she influencing?
Mums.
Really?
She has a lot of mums following her. We share a lot of the same followers as well, but mums.
But that's really interesting how socials now is transcending different age groups. Like for example, my mum's got around 60,000 followers on Instagram, and she's like gassed and she's obsessed with followers. Like, can you please just tag me? I'm nearly at this this landmark of followers now. I really need to get there. And I'm like, Mum, just chill out. But that's amazing that you've got that support as well, because I think if your family
100%.
understand it as well.
Yeah, she gets it now, and she'll ring me if she's got a problem and she's like, Anna, I'm talking to this brand. I'm like, don't worry, I've got you. Like, I know how to do it. Or if I've got the same problem, she knows exactly what the problem is now and how it feels. So it's nice having that like relationship with my mum.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your family. You've got your mum, you've got your little brother.
Yeah.
And am I right in thinking your dad's not in your life?
No, doesn't. I never met my dad.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
never knew my real
crazy.
dad.
I've just I've had another guest on before, and he said the same thing. And I was like, there was a time when I didn't see my dad for 6 years, and it was really tough. But then obviously I became really close with my dad in my later life. But what was that like for you, not knowing your dad and having him in your life? It's something you're just comfortable with now?
Yeah, I think so I have a stepdad who I grew up with from like pretty much when I was born until I was like 9, and I haven't seen him for like 4 years. But not knowing my real dad never really affected me, because to me I've never met him, so it could be a stranger in the street. But I think it definitely affected me when I was younger, because I was seeing everybody else have a father figure and a mum, and I was like, oh, like I don't really know what it feels like to have that male like influence in my life, and that is something that I've always kind of lacked, which is why I feel like I never really wanted a relationship, because I never had a dad around. But now, I mean, I look at it as like I've been brought up by an incredible mum. My nan is on her own as well, so I've been surrounded by such an incredible like group of women that like I love that, and I can't imagine it any other way, so I wouldn't really want it any other way now. But when I was younger, of course, I did find it really hard not having a dad around. But
well, it sounds like your mum's done, I know your mum's done an amazing job, because she's raised a beautiful, humble, lovely, talented girl who's absolutely smashing the game. And I know this podcast is going to inspire a lot of people. And your whole journey has the fact that literally you stuck at something that you love from an early age, despite what other people have said. You've kind of proved all those bullies wrong in school, and you are literally just on the most incredible trajectory. And I'm just really proud and grateful to have you on my podcast.
No,
so,
thank you for having me.
Yeah,
honestly,
I just want to say a massive thank you, and I look forward to working with you more as well across the year.
Yeah, 100%.
And hopefully one day I can get in one of your videos as well.
Oh my God, come and do it.
Can we do like a get ready with me or something?
We can do. Oh yeah, we could do a mukbang, McDonald's mukbang.
Yes,
we can do a McDonald's mukbang. That'll be
you
fun.
ate like 20 McDonald's for 24 hours, or?
Oh yeah, I've done loads.
You've done all of them?
Yeah, I've done all of them. We could do one of them.
Okay, we'll make it happen. But thank you so much for being on.
No, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
So honestly, I could have sat there all day and listened to Anastasia, because it's just so insightful. Because sometimes we have an idea of what a YouTuber is, or a content creator, or even an influencer, and we kind of stigmatize them a little bit. Whereas when you hear Anastasia's story, you realize the level of work and time that it's taken to get to that point. And it's not always been easy. She's had people who've doubted her. She's been bullied at school, but she's still stuck to her guns. And honestly, it's inspired me, because I think when you stick to your guns and you stay true to what you're passionate about, that's where the success comes from. So massive shout out to Anastasia for joining me today, because she really has inspired me. I just want to say thank you again for always supporting the podcast. Please continue to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you've not yet signed up to the race in Sunderland with me in July with British Triathlon, do it. Come out of your comfort zone. Use my discount code, Learning25, and let's go and do this race together. I'll be back next week with another guest, and we will learn another life lesson with Learning as I Go.